Hey, what's up guys, Bryce here, and we're back at it again for another video. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the PT Autosport Aspiring Driver Shootout that I was actually competing in last year in November. So it's been a few months since this driver shootout has concluded, and I'm just going to be telling you guys my experience there and exactly what happened. I'm going to try to do this like in one take without doing too many edits. Just kind of like my raw feelings and feedback. I'm not going to go like crazy in depth about everything, but just kind of like a good amount so you guys knew what happened. And kind of like a story time. So if you guys don't know me, my name is Bryce Rodriguez, and I created this YouTube channel a while ago, Bryce Evolution. I've always been a sim racer and basically just crazy about cars and racing and motorsports, and got into iRacing. And a few months ago was the first time I've ever jumped in a real car. So it was just absolutely incredible. I will be doing another video analyzing my onboards. I'm going to be putting onboard clips in here, but not like going in depth about them. That's for another video. But yeah, so let's just jump right into this. So this all started back when I was actually on vacation out west in Utah. I was in Utah with my family. Even a little bit before this, actually, I think like a week before I went on vacation, I was scrolling through Instagram on my phone, and I saw this ad for this driver shootout. And I thought it was, I think me and a lot of other people thought this was a scam. We didn't really think it was like a legit thing. But it was real. It was like a driver shootout for $100,000 partnership. And I wasn't really too crazy about it. I was like, you know, I don't know what this is, but it's definitely something I'm interested in. So let's give it a shot. So long story short, you fill out an application, you pay 25 bucks. And then, yeah, I submitted the application, a few basic questions about me. I didn't know exactly even what it was. I just knew that it was some sort of driver shootout for aspiring drivers, which is what I would call myself. So I did that, and a week goes by. I'm in vacation in Utah, and I get an email saying I got moved on to the next round. So there's 3 rounds. The first round was that post thing, and I might be getting some things wrong, so I apologize. I'm not getting this 100% right. And the second round is another sort of, they pick out even more people for a more in-depth application. And this, I had to submit a video. I had to submit a lot of questions about myself, racing, motorsport, all that type of things. And that's what I did. And I was in Utah when I got the second email, and I was like, wow, like this is crazy. Now keep in mind, I was on vacation. So they wanted this information. They wanted a video answering a bunch of questions, filling out like a Google Doc with another question, like a lot of questions on there. And I was going to be home in like 3 days, and I only had 2 days to make the video, or even 1 day to make the video. So I was kind of stressed about that. I was like, I don't have a lot of time to submit all this stuff and do this. I didn't think I was going to have enough time to do it. But long story short, I got home on a Wednesday. This was due by Thursday. I spent the whole day working on this video, the script and everything, and did the questions, and again, submitted it. Didn't have any expectations for this whatsoever. You had to post a little Instagram thing. I'll put that on screen, or put the link in the description to my Instagram as well. Maybe you guys have seen that. And yeah, like I said before, again, just didn't really have any expectations. I was like, whatever. Let's do this. So now 2 weeks later go by, and I get an email from PT Autosport. PT Autosport is the team that has organized this whole thing. All of their information will be in the description as well. And I get an email from them, and it said something like, you know, we'd like to invite you to the Zoom meeting. So I didn't really have any expectations. They wanted to follow up. So I said, okay, maybe that's some more questions for me. And on the Zoom meeting, and before I even get into this part, basically I found out that if you get selected, so basically they narrow it down to 8 drivers, and then the 8 drivers actually go to Millville, New Jersey, and actually do the shootout. So I knew that if I did win this, I would be going to Millville. Not win, but kind of move on. I'd be going to Millville, New Jersey, and driving some sort of car. Again, it was very vague. They didn't really reveal too much. So they were like, yeah, like you've been selected for the top 8. So, you know, it was like a 10-minute call or whatever. And I was pretty stoked. I was like, wow, like this is actually happening. I didn't really think it was like real. Again, like I kind of wasn't really experiencing all of this. I don't know how to explain it. I just wasn't really getting too excited. I was kind of like, okay, we're going to Jersey now. So now what next, you know? So from there, after that call, I knew that I'll be going like a month's time. They, a week later, they sent out like a whole pamphlet with basically everything that would be happening in the shootout in terms of the assessments. And yeah, throughout that whole month, I was practicing on the sim. I found out that it would be on the Thunderbolt circuit. I think it's Thunderbolt or Lightning. I might be getting the names confused, but I found out that it would be a Spec Miata, which is a manual car. So I've never driven a manual car in my life, in real life before, and never even driven it in the sim. My setup has paddle shifters. I don't have a manual gearbox setup, nor do we even have a clutch pedal. The Fanatec one costs like $300. I didn't have the money for that. So what I did was I went out and bought a Logitech G29 with the shifter and the pedal setup. So I'll put a picture here, and I pretty much practiced on that for a month on Assetto Corsa on this setup here. So this setup that I'm recording on right now isn't the one I have in my basement, which is the rig that I normally use. So yeah, I'll put some pictures up on here. I was able to borrow a VR headset from one of my friends, the Oculus Quest 2. I borrowed that headset and I used that for like a month. On these, you know, crappy pedals that are on the floor right now on this wheel. Again, it's not terrible, but it was all I had to practice. So I would practice all kinds of stuff. I'd do Mazdas at the actual track, from like open wheel cars, GT cars. I'll just practice anything really to get the technique down. Again, it wasn't really the driving. It was just the stick shift that was really just a pain in my ass. So yeah, after I did that, just give me 1 second. So yeah, long story short, November 9th comes around, and this is the day of the shootout. So night before, got some pretty good sleep actually. I wasn't surprised. I got some pretty good sleep. We had to be there at 7 p.m. at the track. So kind of a long day before we got there. I'm about 3 hours north of Jersey. I'm in New York. So I drove, me and my dad, he went with me. I drove 3 hours south to Jersey. And horrible traffic. Got there like in 3.5 hours, 4 hours. A pretty bad drive, I remember, down there. Driving through Jersey isn't the most fun thing in the world, but we get there and we get to the track. It's pretty dark at this point. So again, it was kind of like, I don't want to say weird, but it was dark. So it was just like, you know, coming to the track at night. And then we get there, and they're kind of in this, everyone's kind of in this little garage area. We go in there, meet everyone, all that kind of stuff. And we meet, you know, the people from PT Autosport, which is great. And then right next to the garage, we're pretty much trackside at this point. There's this big facility, this kind of big rooms. Like it's, they had like little suites next to the track. So me and my dad went in the room. And then we got the little pamphlet that kind of had like the schedule for the next 2 days of what's going on. And then, yeah, we pretty much went to bed, once we got there. Next morning was when stuff got pretty real. So yeah, we're at the shootout. Again, I got the little pamphlet. I'll explain to you what the events actually were. I'll put pictures here of kind of like what, you know, those rooms looked like and stuff. There was 8 other contestants. They're all really, really great people and just nice people in general. There's also ages 19 and 23, I believe. I was the youngest there, I think. But yeah, it's 19 through 23, so pretty young guys like me. And a girl there too, actually. But yeah, in general, everyone was super nice. No complaints about that at all. It was more like friends and competitors. But yeah, so next morning we wake up. We had a wake up call like at 6:30. 6:30, we went into the fitness test. So fitness test was 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups. I don't remember what I got. I think I got like 79 push-ups and 50 something sit-ups. I forget. 2 mile run. That was brutal. So yeah, we went ahead in the 2 mile run and we had a little fitness test in the morning. I won the race, the 2 mile run, because I did play soccer and had a bit of kind of training for that. And that was kind of mainly what I was training for, because I couldn't really drive in real life. And then we had a little break. And again, I'm not going to go too in depth about everything, but just everything was really well organized. I was very surprised about kind of the facilities that had food there and everything like that. But now for kind of the good part, which is what everyone was waiting for, actually driving. So we had a couple Miatas that were rented out by this company called Flat Out Motorsports. And they gave us, PT Autosport gave us brand new race gear. My first time ever freaking putting on race gear. It was like crazy. You had the Sparko boots, the Sparko suit, race suit, the helmet and everything. So after the fitness test, all of us have our own individual schedules. So we each are doing different things throughout the day. So we did the fitness test, and then after I had my sim test. And this is essentially where they had 2 sim rigs there, and you jump in the sim and do laps in the Mazda MX-5 around New Jersey in iRacing. So I did pretty well in that. And again, they had coaches there who were just, let me tell you, the coaches were absolutely phenomenal. They were really just great people all around. They really did help a lot. And the coaches were there, like it almost felt like you were in a real team, which was great. All from the UK too, which is something I haven't really experienced ever. Like people from the UK, actual racing drivers, which is pretty amazing. And just kind of like a dream come true almost. And then after the sim test, did pretty good in that. We had a little debrief, and then it was time to jump in the cars. So they had a little garage where the cars were, and the first 2 drivers were able to kind of get more familiar with the car than I was. They can kind of sit in it for a bit, which I didn't really have the luxury of doing. But anyway, they did their laps. They have this big tower. I went all the way up to the tower, I was watching them. We also did a track walk as well. I completely forgot about this. We did a track walk beforehand. So a lot of other things that we did. But the main part was the driving. So the 2 other, I think it was Henry and someone else, I forgot who it was. They did their laps and they come into the pits, and now it's my turn to jump in the car. So they came into the pits, and again, I might be skipping some things or just kind of like, I'm not going to go crazy in depth about this, but just kind of the most important things and kind of related to racing in this channel. I forgot who I went in for, but he comes into the pits and he jumps out the car. I jump in the car, and first impressions were the car's small, very small. Jump in the car, put the steering wheel in. The car is small, but the seat and everything feels very good. It feels very just like real and professional. The seat felt great. Steering wheel, again, just everything felt like very solid. I don't know, like coming from a sim, it's a sim. It's kind of like a sim racing, but going in a real car, like you really do feel like you're in some sort of cockpit. That was an amazing feeling. The coach puts the steering wheel on and, it's kind of telling me the procedures and things like that. Of course, I had a driver next to me, a coach next to me. Turned the car on, and again, first time with the clutch. So of course, when I pulled out the pits, I did stall it a few times. Pretty much every time I stalled, which is kind of like a given. It's very tricky to come out the pits without stalling the car. The gear shifter felt really solid. Just everything felt like new. Like everything felt new to me, of course, because I've never done this in real life before. I go out on track. It was a surreal feeling being out on track in this car that I've been driving in the sim. Everything looked so real and felt so real, and like moving through space-time is incredible. So do the first couple laps, and I'm shifting through the gears. I'm not going flat out, of course. I'm just getting a feel for the car. In the first run, I slowly just kind of start to get a feel for the car and the manual gearbox. So the first session, again, I wasn't really shifting to the gears. You only have to do about 3 gear shifts in this, or you're only using 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I believe. So like for the first stint, I really was making a lot of mistakes, but the mistakes weren't in terms of my lines and my braking and my gas. It was just because of the gearbox. I really didn't know how to shift gears. Like it was all new to me, so I was trying to learn on the fly as fast as I can, but also it's like a competition. So it was really kind of a balance of taking it slow, which I was doing. But yeah, I had a few missed shifts. I was pulling out the clutch too fast, and just little things like that for the first session. So first session was about 5 laps maybe. And towards the end of the session, my coach told me to only basically stay in 3rd or 4th for the whole lap, so I didn't have to make any gear changes. And I specifically remember this. Once I kind of went past turn 1 in 4th gear, and I wasn't using the, I wasn't changing gears, I was kind of just flying through the corners at this point because I wasn't worrying about that. And that was kind of a really good feeling, like going through the right and the left-hander pretty much like as fast as I could without having to worry about changing gears was a great feeling. First day was pretty much done. That Tuesday was finished up, had that first run. I felt pretty good in the car. That Tuesday, I'm not gonna lie, I could not sleep. Like I was just kind of just figuring out how I could get faster, what I could do. And I was like, after that run, I was like, I could have done this different and that different. One thing I will say is that I was a little bit, I don't want to say disappointed, but it would have been nice to see telemetry. It really would have been nice to see telemetry. I didn't have the chance to even look at any other onboards and have lap times, nothing. I would go in the car, come out the car, and I wouldn't do anything with the car until I went back in it again. So if I would have had onboards, telemetry, lap times, just some sort of data to look at and kind of come back to the next day would have been super useful. I understand how, maybe it's just on feeling on what you can do in the car. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So next day, this was also the media day as well, or that might have been the first day, I think. I think the first day was a media day, but we had sort of a media test as well, talking about yourself. But most important thing was driving, and that's kind of what we're here for today. So Wednesday comes around, had one session in the morning, and I think that was just a quick session. Actually, I think we had 3 sessions that day. We had a lot of laps that day. We just had a first morning session. Again, it went better. Every session that I did, it was just a little bit of improvement. Second session, I was going a little bit faster, still having a little bit of trouble with the gears. But it all went well. Next session after that, no, they did eliminate 2 competitors, unfortunately, after the first session, which was kind of sad almost, just because, we were building relationships with these people around us, and it was a lot of fun, and they're all in the same boat as me, whereas it was our first time getting this opportunity, so kind of seeing them go, was sort of a moment, but of course it is a competition as always. But then we jumped in the car for this second session. Now this second session was interesting. They took out the chicane, so now we were pretty much going flat out through a right-hander. And they also did a 10-lap run, which is a lot of laps. And then they made changes to the car. We did another few laps. And then the last session was a qualifying run. So it was pretty much getting down to game time. Like you need to, this is what all of your preparation has done for you. So we did that 10-lap run. Car felt good. I made a couple mistakes. And I did make a mistake in the morning, actually, which I forgot to mention, but I did make a mistake in the morning. I went wide in turn 1. I didn't have a feeling for the brakes. I made a mistake in that 10-lap run too. Going into turn 2, I clipped the inside of the curb and went out on the grass or the curb a little bit. Wasn't a big mistake. But yeah, I didn't really make huge mistakes. That was also due to the fact that I didn't want to go over the limit. I really didn't want to push further than my limits at the time. I'd rather be consistent, keep it clean, and just do the best that I could with the skills that I had, which is what I was able to do. And I was really kind of proud of myself for doing that. In terms of, the sim, which is kind of what you guys want to hear and how it compares. The sim definitely prepared me a lot. The technique was there. The whole driving technique was definitely there in the car. So yeah, just consistency was there. The speed wasn't yet there, but I was still trying to learn the car. But it's definitely a surreal feeling going from, the sim to real life. You can focus so much easier in real life than you can in the sim. It's so easy to lose focus in the sim because in real life, it's like you're moving through space-time. It's a very hard feeling to explain. You kind of have to experience it for yourself. It is very different, though, I will say. Besides the technique, I think just the feeling is very different. of actually driving the car, which is great. I'm glad that it's different, because sometimes the sim for me can get a little boring just because it's not really real. The whole experience isn't real. But did that second session, did about 10 laps in the car, made one mistake when I misshifted a gear once, but it was a good session, pretty good session. After that, they disconnected the rear roll bar, and then I did a lap on that. Car was a bit understeery, and then after that, we did a qualifying session, and I did one qualifying lap. It was the fastest lap for that qualifying session. Again, I could have gone quicker. I could have gone quicker. I was looking at some other videos and stuff and data from the other drivers, and I definitely could have gone quicker. But again, in hindsight, I would have done the same thing. I would have drove that same lap just the way I did, because at the time that was my limit. So yeah, they had Alex. Alex is the driver partner for PT Autosport. He was kind of like the main guy there. He's in Porsche Cup. Very, very, very talented and quick. He set a 137, I believe, and I did a 140. So about 3 seconds off, I think. 3 seconds off. 3 seconds or 2 seconds. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he did a 137 or 138. I'm not sure, but a few seconds off from him. So definitely room for improvement. So we did that qualifying session, and that was pretty much it. Like, the shootout was pretty much concluded at that point. No more driving for the rest of the day. We went back to the rooms and kind of just got ourselves together before we went out for the conclusion of dinner. Came in second place in the driver's shootout. So that was able to give me access to go to Lime Rock in May. So I'm gonna be going to Skip Barber GT school in May for a 3-day school, which is gonna be fun. And then we also have a few other things lined up in the future. But yeah, came in second place in the shootout. Big congrats to Henry for winning the shootout and winning the $100,000 partnership. Big congrats to you. Sorry about the lighting, it's coming in right now, but yeah, that's pretty much what happened in the Aspiring Driver Shootout. It was a fantastic event and a ton of fun. Big thank you to PT Autosport for making this possible and even giving me the opportunity to be able to go to Skip Barber in May. And also, of course, the other contestants were all great. But yeah, that was a shootout. I know some parts are a little bit more vague than others. I've been super busy with school and trying to get out videos as well. So yeah, that was pretty much the driver shootout for PT Autosport. Now, I did do a race with them, a sim race that I will be posting soon and kind of giving a little update on that as well. So yeah, the shootout was great. It was probably one of the best experiences I've had in my life to date in terms of driving. I'm still kind of like, even to this day, 3 months later, 4 months later, I think it's 5 or 4 months later, still kind of in awe that this even happened. But again, just keep moving forward for my future. Again, I'm going to Skip Barber in May for a GT school, so it's going to be pretty fun, interesting to see what I can do there. I'll be posting another video with a bunch of onboards, kind of looking at that footage, and just kind of doing a quick analysis. I know I probably was a bit vague on some parts in this video, but I didn't want to go too crazy in depth, but kind of just highlight the most important moments and just give you a quick rundown of what has happened at the shootout. There's going to be a shootout next year too, so hoping to go back to the shootout and do better. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and that was the Aspiring Driver Shootout that I competed in. Yeah, crazy. I wish I would have kind of vlogged it or recorded it or something, but that's gonna be it for me, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy. Video coming soon analyzing my onboards. Big thank you to PT Autosport. Check them out, link in the description. Again, big thank you to everyone over at PT Autosport for making this possible. It's a really great experience and just a dream come true for me. Didn't ever think this would ever happen. And now we're going to Lime Rock in May, so that's when we will see you guys out on track next in the real world. Until then, a lot of sim racing stuff coming soon with PT Autosport as well. But yeah, that was the Aspiring Driver Shootout. Crazy, and just crazy how fast life moves in general. But that's going to be it for this video, and I will see you in the next video, guys. Bye bye.